Perfect. Good morning. So, thank you for joining. So, in our previous classes, couple of classes, we have covered what is case management all about within Pega. We used the case designer to design cases. We created sub cases, how exactly you can, create a case and perform multiple operations. That is something which we did a deep dive and we understood in our previous classes. Perfect. So today we are going into our very interesting topic within Pega, which is called as integration. Integration is kind of like hot topic in whichever technology you go. Why? Because you want to integrate the applications with systems which are not connected to your application. That is why it is hard. Why is it important? Because data travels through integration. Integration is done so that you can consume data, the one which you don't have, and also sometimes to provide the data which other applications don't have. That is why we use integration predominantly. Perfect. So I want to know what is your understanding with respect to integration. Anyone? Get the data and transfer the data. Perfect. Anyone else wants to try? Anyone wants to try? Yes? No? What is your understanding about integration so that will help me build on top of it? Perfect. So one of the brother is saying like to get the data and also to transfer data at a high level. Yes, that's what we do to communicate between or communicate from one application to other app. That's what we do. You can say app to app, application to application, or application to database. Everything is an integration. What are you doing? You are integrating them. You are integrating your app with another app, your application with one of the database or any other databases, multiple databases, be it anything. You will be doing that. Perfect. So for example, whenever I'm trying to get some data, let us say I want to get what is the weather today. What am I in that case? Am I a consumer or a provider? When I want to see what is the weather data for tomorrow, am I a consumer or a provider? Consumer. So we need to understand very clearly when I am going to consume and when I am going to provide. For example, in the weather application, we are consumers, right? You have to connect to get that data. You have to connect to Google to get that data. So connect to the app or service to get the data. Consumer. When am I a provider? For example, when I'm in a weather data exchange, if I am a consumer, what is Google? Service provider. App which provides the data. Makes sense? Clear, guys? Yes? No? Perfect. Now, if you see, if I have to connect to any application, let us say I want to do a Google search, there is something called as developer tools. This is just for your understanding. And go to the network tab. Just to give you understanding what happens when we try to search. Let us say I want to do Go to google.com. Of course, the left hand screen is something which you are already aware of. Just focus on the right hand side where I have opened the toolbar. Do you see so many requests going through and the status and stuff like that? Name of the request, status, what type, stuff like that. Like, don't worry too much about that. Just understand that whenever a request is successful, you see something called 200. Yes or no? 200. So if you see, this particular request is using a protocol. What is that? So what we are trying to do here is, when you try to hit google.com, the request is going from my local machine to Google. Yes or no? How do I know? If you see your network tab, you are literally requesting something. See, request URL is something which is getting formed, and then it is telling https ogs.google.com, stuff like that. In the same way, for example, let me clear this off. Sorry, perfect. I cleared it. Record network log. Let us say I am trying to hit my Pega application. http colon double slash localhost, and I'm trying to hit my Pega application which is running in my local. Just see what happens. Observe this. Does it make sense, guys? What is happening? I'm requesting my application which is running in my local. I'm asking it through the internet browser, which is here Chrome. Chrome is the consumer here who is consuming this particular service, which is localhost colon prweb app, which is where my Pega is running. All I'm saying is, hey Chrome, can you go and look up for this URL? If it is running, return me content from that. And that is happening over a protocol. What is that? HTTP protocol. Yes or no? Did I specify that? Right? I am telling what is HTTP. It is a protocol which will help your request to travel over internet. HTTP. It's a protocol which will help your request to travel over internet from your system to the server. You need a traveler from my home to railway station. Either I need auto, or I need a Uber, or I need a bike or something like that. Same way, for your request to travel from your local machine to your server, you need a vehicle. That vehicle is provided by HTTP. It stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP protocol is necessary. So this is a basic protocol which we will use. Any application, if it has to communicate with other application, it has to use HTTP. On top of this, sometimes what happens, they the data is not secure if you are using HTTP. HTTP is like going on a road which doesn't have any security. Imagine you going inside a forest where there is no lights, no, you know, forest officer, nothing. You are always vulnerable to be attacked by animals or some disaster. Yes or no? Right? Which is quite obvious because you are taking a path which is dangerous. You might be safe also. If there is no tiger that day, you might be safe. But if the tiger is there, of course you are in trouble. Do we agree? Yes. Data also goes through the same thing. Don't we hear day in day out, oh, there is a data breach in this bank, oh, some data breach happened, oh, some hacker hacked this particular account. It happens because bad security practices. Using HTTP, just HTTP is a bad security practice because it makes it easy for hackers to hack your applications. So the consortium of web came up with something called as SSL. This is nothing but secure socket layer. What are they saying? Hey, when you're traveling in that forest, we'll make sure there is a secure pathway. We'll build a road and we'll have forest officers all through that road, which is secure for you. And they call that as HTTPS, a secure HTTP, which has security when you transfer the data. Does it make sense? Perfect. So there are two concepts. Trust me, all these are not part of Pega, but you need to know this in order to understand integration. And none of the integration explainers explain it this way for Pega. That's why I'm taking a slightly different approach where I give you a basic understanding of what is integration all about. Based on that, we'll start building. And it is same across any application, be it Pega or any application you take. We'll be using pretty much same concepts. So we'll clarify these so we can build a strong basics, and then on top of it, we'll use it within Pega. Would that be okay? Perfect. So we understood what is HTTP. HTTP is something which we are using, a protocol which we are using to hit our application. Right now we are using HTTP. Why? Because this application is running on my local. So there is no chance someone can come into my system and hack it. So I'm okay, I'm fine. I'm using HTTP. That's okay. So, but if you see, when we did a google.com, for example, anything with Google or anything, let us say google.com, and then just click on this lock here. See, connection is secure, which means this particular website is implementing HTTPS. HTTPS is nothing but making sure your data is secure while in transit using something called as certificates. You would have seen this, but you don't know what exactly that means. All this means is, for example, if HTTP is, let us say, you are taking cash in a transparent bag. Let us say there is a transparent bag in your home. You're taking cash in that bag on the road to someone's place. Do you think it is secure? It is not secure because your cash is visible while you're moving or in transit, the cash is visible. Does it make sense? Perfect. In the same way, imagine you're taking that same cash in a locked container which has a secure key on top of it, and it is a black box. No one can see what exactly is in that because it is completely black, opaque. Nothing is transparent in that, and you also have a secure lock on top of it, which only you know, and the person whom you're going and giving, only he knows. Do you think that box is secure while in transit? There are two concepts, very important concepts: data security at rest, otherwise data security at transit. Now I believe you know what is data security at transit. What do you mean by data security at transit? In the sense, when the data is moving or traveling over HTTP, for example, you requested for your Aadhaar card number and that data is coming over HTTP protocol to you. It has to be secure. To do that, you need to have that secure key on top of it. Yes or no? That black box and secure key. Do we agree? Because the data is moving, we call it data in transit. Because you're carrying that box with you while you're walking, we call it cash in transit. That lock is nothing but this piece, which is a certificate. Certificate is nothing but, imagine that to be like a lock or a secure key. which is there on top of your data, which protects it from people who want to, you know, grab the data, or robbers who want to rob that cache. It protects from them. Even though they come and attack you, they won't be able to get. Why? Because the security key is there on top of it. Do we agree? Yes? No? Perfect. So that is the understanding with respect to data security and at transit. How can we achieve it? Through HTTPS, by implementing HTTPS. When you say HTTPS, it means you have certificate enabled, you have security SSL certificate enabled on your data. In the sense, whenever the data travels from you to any app, it is using a security key. It is locked. There are forest officers all through the road who are not going to let anyone to trouble you while you are traveling or your data is traveling. That's what HTTPS means. HTTP means you know what it is. It's like any vulnerable person who is going in the dark path where anyone can attack him and do whatever he wants. But it is a traveler. Understand that this is also a traveler. This is also a traveler. This is a secure traveler. This is a non-secure traveler of data. Make sense? Yes? No? Perfect. So we understood what is that data security at transit. What is data security at rest? Let us say you have kept cash in your home. It's on a table, a pile on a table. Do you think it is secure? The, the cache is at rest, but it is not secure because you have kept it open. Anyone, for example, the cleaner who is cleaning your home, as soon as he or she sees that, he thinks, okay, how can I kill this guy and get all this money? Make sense? It's a huge pile of cash which you have. Data also is like that. Data also is equal to cash, or sometimes it's even more than cash. Data is that important. So there is something called as data security at rest, which can be achieved by encryption. We can encrypt that. For example, if you see our Pega database, to access that I need to give a password. Yes or no? Do we agree? That is data encryption at rest, data security at rest. Whenever you have cash in your home, make sure you keep it in your locker. Does it make sense? Data security at rest is making sure your data is encrypted, not easily accessible to everyone. That is data security at rest. Giving you this context so that you understand what is at rest and what is at transit. Whenever the data is traveling over HTTP, then it is in transit. When it is not traveling over HTTP, it's sitting in your database or somewhere, then data is at rest. It is sitting there. But you should make sure it is secure by using encryption. Pega uses that to some extent. For example, few of the columns are blob columns. No one can go and see that until unless he can decrypt that. Does it make sense? That is one mechanism of encrypting data at a table level. You can build blobs and you can encrypt that. But these are some basic understanding with respect to how exactly data comes and goes. We understood who is a consumer, who is a provider, what is HTTP, what is SSL, HTTPS, data security at rest, data security during transit. Perfect. So on top of this, for example, if I have to use Google or something, I can use this particular browser and I can consume that. But if an app has to talk to an app, that won't happen just with HTTP and HTTPS. He has to app to app conversation has to happen using additional set of protocols on top of HTTP and HTTPS. You will need additional set of protocols, something like, so another one is REST. What is SOAP? Don't be like I use Lux, I use LifePy. That's not something we are talking about. On top of HTTP and HTTPS, when you have to talk between two apps, for example, we built our insurance application, and now I want to consume the credit score for one of the parties from a third party application, let us say. Then I will have to establish integration with them using some integration platform like SOAP or REST. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. This is also a protocol. It's ultimately, end of the day, everyone uses this guy, HTTP container. On top of that, you can have more security. This will give you more flexibility. We'll see what sort of flexibility it gives. We'll understand that. Another one is REST. REST stands for Representational State Transfer Protocol. This is also a protocol. This is also a protocol. This will be used when you want to perform app to app integration. This one is app to human. For example, through a Google Chrome browser, a human is accessing Google app. Google is ultimately an app, it is running somewhere. You're using that app from this browser. This browser can also be called as client. Do you agree? Through this client, you're trying to hit the Google application. Through this client, I am trying to consume my Pega application. Does it make sense? Yes. No. Yes. No, guys. Perfect. Okay. Any confusion so far? Okay. Perfect. Let us go inside this thing into our application. All we are doing is using this Chrome client. We are accessing this application which is running on my local server. Do we agree? If you see, Facebook app also is the same thing. Facebook is running somewhere else, but you're accessing it through their client, which they have built, which is the Facebook app. In the same way, you can go to Google Chrome and also you can access that Facebook application. The same screen will appear there. What are we doing? Using two different clients, we are accessing the same application. Same thing with WhatsApp. Same thing with every application which you use. Gmail also is application running somewhere. You are accessing it through this browser or through the app. All these are clients using which you are accessing the server wherever it is running. Does it make sense, guys? Yes? No? Perfect. So within Pega, when you come under records, there are multiple categories for integration. One is integration connectors. When do we use connectors, guys? When do we use connectors? Yes, but when? When you have to consume data, very important. Whenever you have to consume data, you will use connectors. I want to connect to you to get data. If I have to provide, what will I use? Does it make sense? Service. Service is when you will be providing. I have lot of cash, please take it. I have lot of data. I can provide that data. That data which you are looking for, it is available with me. I have a service for that. You can be a consumer for that service. The data I need, I don't have it. I need to get it from you. I need to build a connector for that. Make sense? Able to understand, guys? Very good. Connect Soap, like 5 years before, every application had, like maybe 5 6 years or maybe 7 years is what you can take. Every application was using Connect Soap to connect and get data because that was like kind of standard. For example, like Nokia phone. Like 10 years before, everyone wanted to have a Nokia phone in his hand. Connect Soap also was like that. Everyone, everywhere we were using Connect Soap. But from past at least like 6 7 years, the most widely used protocol for integration has been Connect REST, or REST protocol to be frank. REST protocol is something which we are using a lot to connect. So there are multiple connectors which Pega provides, starting with Cassandra. Cassandra is a NoSQL database. These of all of these, only two are like very important, which they will be asking you, and you will also be implementing them when you go into an application. Connect REST, like 200%, you will be implementing somewhere or the other. If you get a chance to implement, very good. It's a really good experience to understand how integration works. Connect REST. Connect SOAP, it's not there anymore. I mean, if you take around 50 applications, around 5 applications might still have Connect SOAP because everyone has migrated to Connect REST. We'll do both. We'll try to understand both, you know, with more emphasis towards understanding what is Connect REST. Okay. So let us start with Connect REST today. Like I said, Connect REST also is a protocol. REST also is a protocol using which, what will you do? You will be communicating between two apps. Does it make sense? We will be communicating between two apps. So let us take which app can we connect to. So I have been trying to build a connector for one of the apps. I'll show you what is that all about. Well, it's just my personal project, but it will help you understand really well. Uh, I want to introduce something which with artificial intelligence also. That is why I took up that particular piece. Let us see if that helps you, fine, or else we can take a different route. Perfect. So I'm using a artificial intelligence modeling language which will help us, to build something, a sample of anything. For example, mm, explain code. What is that I use? Okay, this is interesting. So this has many models. OpenAI has many models. So I'm not taking any easy example, slightly complicated example, but if you learn it, it is like really, really good because most of the implementations today has this particular piece. And I'll do a detailed video about how exactly you could do this thing. But for you, whatever is basic understanding, I'll give you that. So OpenAI is something which I'll be using. These guys will be the providers for us. Okay. And we will be consumers. So what rule will I be creating? Connect. Does it make sense? Could be REST or SOAP, whatever. Perfect. So I have lot of models here. Models are nothing but which will help you curate some content. For example, I can say, for example, I can say mm, grammar correction. So here, this is one example. Let me open this in Playground. Perfect. So if I give a wrong sentence here, it will correct me and give me a right sentence. She went to the market is what it has written here. What it actually had to be is she now went to the market. Yes or no? You see the error here? And these guys, OpenAI has models which will help you in such corrections. If I do a submit, so okay, so it is correcting the English here. She, what it meant was she did not go to the market, but she had written she no went to the market. Does it make sense? And this particular model has already corrected it and it is giving you something like this. If you find this example is slightly challenging, no issues. We'll not take this one. I'll take something much simpler. Let us see. Everything is trial and error. That's how we learn. It's always good to learn from something really challenging so we can remember. Okay, let's do something like this. Extract contact information, open in playground. So what this particular AP or artificial intelligence model, machine learning model is doing is whenever you give it information, it will extract the details, for example, the contact details for you. So here, if you see, this is an email which is written and it is telling my here is my address. All this service has to do is extract this address and give it to you. Does it make sense? Is there an address here? Is there a name here? Right, it is there. Let us see if that works. Let me say my address is 884 90 good, good, Mysore, Karnataka, India, 33571 301. This is my address and my name is, let me say, Nikhil CSS. Okay, this is what I have. All I want to do is this service should be able to pull my address and my name and it should give it to me. Let us see if it works. Let me submit it. Does it make sense? Did it return me Nikhil CSSA and the mailing address? It has done. So this is separate. Okay. Now let us see how can I send this information, only this information from Pega to this service, and how can I extract this by sending this information. Does it make sense? All I want to do is I will be as a requester, I'll be as a consumer, I'll be sending this request and this service, the service they have should be providing me that information, whatever information we got, which is name and okay, perfect, no problem. That's fine. So to get what, how exactly I can implement it, what you can do is you can look for something called as the API which they have exposed. To do that, what I will do, this particular OpenAI provides me with something called as a view code option where I can see what code is needed to achieve that. And I have that. If I click on just view code, it will give me that information. I want to use this. You could do anything. You could do a Python, curl or this thing. I need JSON because I'm going to use JSON in my application. So very important topic to introduce. How do you communicate between two applications which don't have common language? Let us say you are from a different country. Let's say you are from Egypt, you speak Arabic there, and I am from India, we speak Hindi there, and another brother is from, let's say, Mexico, and he speaks Spanish there. How can we communicate together, guys? Translator, perfect. But today, how do we communicate with each other? Common language, exactly, right? We use English. Like all of us on this call are from 10 different places, but one common platform or language which we are using is English. Do we agree? Why do we need such sort of understanding? Is because my app can be written in, let us say, Java. There's another app which is written in Python. Another app written in C. Another in C++. Another in Swift, which all the Apple applications use. Another in Go, which is the Google's de facto language. Another in React, which is Facebook's UI language. Another in Angular, which is again another UI language. Another in JavaScript. Today we have applications written in their own languages. They're building their own language and they're writing the applications. But can you talk to those applications through your application? Can you talk to that? No. If you talk in your own language, I won't be able to communicate with you. To solve this problem, two of the languages came up front, which is called as XML. Another one is called as JSON. Let's see what is XML first. XML is nothing but extensible markup language. An example for that is this. See, if someone has to send a note, it will start like this: a parent element, start and close. Note starts and closes with forward slash note. To starts and then closes with a forward slash. From starts, heading. Are you able to understand what is the XML, guys? The same way you can have multiple ways in which you can define XML. But today XML is also fading away. Like soap, it is going away and it is being replaced by JSON. JSON is a de facto language. That is why when you try to generate the code here, you see JSON, Python, Node, curl and stuff like that, but you don't see XML. Why? Because JSON is predominantly more famous now and is easy to understand also. In XML, you will have to know which tag starts where and where it is ending and stuff like that. JSON is more user friendly. You can read it easily, consumable with REST. That is why most of them they are using JSON. But this is XML. What all languages, common languages you can use is, for example, if you are in a France based or Europe side, and if you are more with French driven countries, then most of them they use French. Like Canada, entire Canada, you need to know French. XML can be something like French, and JSON is something like English, being utilized by everyone. Though they are built on the every app is built in their own languages, when they have to communicate with each other, they will be using something like XML or JSON. Predominantly JSON. Most of the applications today they use JSON, from AWS to, you can pick any application, they are using JSON. Perfect. So let us see a sample JSON also. See, JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. See, when you see this example, you know that what this is all about. There is a name, there is a age, and there is no car. Does it make sense? Yes, no, like that. It's a lightweight data interchange format. I mean, you can easily interchange, like exchange data between two applications is what it means. JSON is language independent, which means it is not tied to any language. It's free. You can interact with anyone using JSON. That's why they use JSON today to do that. A sample is something like that, like, like what we are seeing here. This is one sample. In the same way, in syntax, you should be able to find more samples. Quite simple. It starts with flower bracket, gets closed with a flower bracket. Like, this is one sample JSON. It just has a name. Now you're actually reading a name here, name John. The way you specify is slightly different. That's it. You have to use double uh, inverted commas for key and value. You can look at it as a key and its value. Key, value, key value. That's how it is. If you see our example here, same thing is there. Model is a key. This is the value. Prompt is the key. This is the value. Temperature is the key. This is the value. Max token is the key. This is the value. Top P is the key. This is the value. Frequency penalty is the key. This is the value. Frequency penalty is the key. This is the value. Does it make sense, guys? Yes? No? Very good. Perfect. So quite vast topic. So don't worry. It's like, gradually we will be able to pick up stuff. No need to worry. Open in playground and see. So a lot of models are available. You can play around with this and see how it is working. See, this is one of the models. That's fine. Let's go back to our example, which we wanted to implement, which was our extract contact information. Open in playground. And then let's look up the code. View code. This is the code I want to implement within Pega. So can I tell this is my request? Yes or no? This is my request, and in response I want to get whatever is being sent, which is extract the contact details, and it should be returning me that. Do we agree? Yes? No? This is my request. Let me create that first. Okay, let us copy it to a place so we know what exactly is my request. I've already done that for you. So this is the request. Model, prompt, temperature, max tokens, top P. This, all these are something which you are going to send, and then in response you are going to get back the contact details extracted from this string. Do you agree? Yes? No? See, this is where my details are. This I can modify and I can tell whatever details I want to put, but the REST call should return me this particular data. Let us see how it can happen. To do that, I have to build a data model, which we did all through our exercise. Yes or no? Whenever you wanted some data to be extracted, we built that, right? Using the data layer, we built that obj, using the data type, we built the data model. In the same way, for this also we will need the properties. What properties would you need? You should just look at the request. All that we are doing is we are going to send a request. So I am going to call this as a open API request. What all properties are there under that? Model. I do have model. Prompt. Do have prompt. Temperature. I do have my temperature. Max tokens. Yes, I do have my max tokens. Top underscore P. This is also one of the attribute. Don't worry what does that does. We are not concerned about that. All we need is we need to be able to communicate with this service using REST and get back our data. Is that clear? Perfect. Now, within your application, what it is doing, it is none of our headache. We shouldn't be worried about that. So, few concepts which we clarified. Of course, XML and JSON is something which we understood. Now we are trying to implement connect REST to consume the open API machine learning model, which gives, which extracts contact information from a generic text. This is a generic text. Do we agree? This is a generic text, right? It's just like a normal message you send. Yes or no? All this model is doing is it's extracting the contact information and giving it to you. You can do it. For example, if you build a model like this, and for example, if someone gave you a log file which has today's all Facebook logins, for example, who are logged into Facebook today, you can pretty much extract all the contacts from that. Yes or no? Like just imagine one day's Facebook log file. It will be so huge. Don't you think how the amount of data it would be having? You can build a model which will show you how many people clicked on a certain celebrity today. You can figure that out. You can just write a model like this, figure it out, run your connect test, extract that information, show it on your UI. Just as simple as that. Using models, all that. The power is really huge. If the session ends, I'll be sending you a new link. Don't worry about that. Today we will try to cover what is connect rest all about. Perfect. So we are going to perform a connect rest to consume the Open API machine learning model, which extracts contact information from a generic text, which is what we are trying to do. Not like, normal integration, a slightly advanced integration, but it will help you. Why? Because you could put this in your resume telling that we have communicated with AI and machine learning models to extract data, to exchange data between our application and the models. That's what we are doing here. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? To do that, you will need a connect rest. How can we create a connect rest? As usual, same thing. Right click on connect rest and you can do create. This will give you, it will ask you to put in a name. Let us say I want it as sample open API REST connector. The class, I'll put it in one of the classes, which is alpha. Okay, I have created already a class. Let me use that for now. Data hyphen open API. Just a normal class, nothing fancy. See, as soon as I told create me a connect REST, it took the name and it generated a form which has service, method, parameter, specification, history, stuff like that. Here it is telling me what is that URL from where you want to consume this data. This is something which is asking. So how can I provide that? How can I get that? Of course, when you try to implement in your application, you will go to your corresponding team who is going to provide you that. Here, we know we have the API documentation. We should be able to get that, which is JSON. Okay, I think that would be something like this. Where did I find it? Okay. I think I do have the URL for that. Let me use that for now, which will be, yeah. I already have their URL. I'll just copy it for you. The URL will be something like this. Now you can go back to this guy and you'll see V1 completions. Just building it. Just remember you can use it directly once you register to that OpenAI API, or you can implement your own whatever you want. So, do you think this cache container is secure or not secure? Secure. It is using HTTPS. Okay. The whoever wants you to integrate with them, they will be providing you these details. For example, the URL details. They'll provide you this URL. All you have to do is pick that up, come to your connector, REST connector, provide that URL. See, this is what you'll be providing. Or you can use application setting. What is application setting, guys? Did we do DSS? Dynamic system settings. Using that also you can give that here. You can maintain that in the DSS also. That's what it means. For this example, we'll maintain it here. Okay. See, Pega automatically created these resource paths, resource path parameters. As soon as you give the URL, it automatically creates that. I'll show you again. See, once you get the endpoint URL, just provide it here. Control V. See, Pega automatically created the path parameters for you. V1 and completions. Deleting again and adding. All we have done so far is created a connect REST under one of the OpenAPI class. Created a OpenAPI class. Under that, I'm creating a sample API REST connector. And here I have to provide the URL which I will be using to consume. That is this. Does it make sense how I can provide a URL? All you are telling here is from where are you going to get that data? That's what I'm telling. Does it make sense? Good so far? Okay, perfect. So this connect REST is a REST connector which is going to consume the data which we saw there. Let us see if we are able to do that. So it is telling, if you look at the request here, this is what it has given. You can use the following code to start integrating your current prompt with settings into your application. You can use this in application. Also, it tells your API key can be found here. You should use environment variables or secret management tool to expose your key to your applications. All this means is there is a log when the data travels. Does it make sense? Perfect. So to achieve that, we'll do that. Of course, we'll do that. Let's try to save this. Now my connector got saved. My connector got saved. But is it ready? Not yet. Why? If you read the specification, it is clearly telling you have to use a API key to consume this. Let us see what do they mean when they say you have to use a API key. All they mean when they say you have to use a API key is there is certain attributes which come as part of this particular request. Let's go back to your connectors. Now your connectors has the URL from where it has to where it has to communicate to. Now what do you want to do as part of it? Do you want to get some data from there? Do you want to push some data to there, or what is that you want to do as part of this? Let us see that. Let me check this out. And let me go to methods. Very important place in connectors. So as part of connect REST, you can do multiple operations. One is get, post, put, patch, and delete. Trust me, you will be only using get and post. Get to get some data just by passing simple attributes. Post also to get some data, but also to be able to send that data in a secure way and adding additional attributes, additional processing, you will be using post. Put to put some data to a certain an application. Patch, you won't be using much, just to add some data or patch some data. Delete is to just delete some data. That's why we'll be using all these methods. These methods are what connect rest is supporting. What all methods does connect rest support? Get, post, put, patch, delete. For this particular operation, what should I use? So the methods which the methods which connect rest supports here is get, post, put, and patch. But your question would be like, how do we know what method should we be using? The person or the team which asks you to integrate with them will let you know what exactly you should be using. But here they didn't tell you anything. How do you know might be your question? Let us go back to my example and see what method have they used. What have they used? I know what has to be used because the API documentation is telling please use post. I'll be using that. Let us go back and click on post. This is what we will be using. Every request will have something called as header. How do we know that? For example, when I click on localhost and I access my application, just see this spot, you will know. See, when I hit enter here, see, there's so many successful requests, which is fine. I'll just pick any one request. Okay. This is the request URL. Do you see something called as headers? See, and you also see something called as the response which came back for that. See, response headers. Response also will have headers. Request also will have headers. Header is nothing but a place where you'll specify some information. For example, in a section, header is something where you'll be putting your title. In the same way, when you try to interact with a application, uh, you know, in HTTP, you will also see some headers. See, this is the header for this. This is a request URL and some header information which it has. See the method it is using. What is the method it is using? Get. This is something which our internal application which is running, the Pega application which is running, which is using get, which is fine. There are multiple methods. Everything is supporting, so it is using get. No issues for us. In the same way, we'll have some header information. As part of header, you can tell what sort of application it is. What is the content type? For example, if you see the response here, it is telling the content type is JavaScript. It seems, which means that it's supporting JavaScript. In the same way, you can also tell that in your in your connect rest, you can tell what sort of content you want to support. Does it make sense? Every request will have a header, payload, and stuff like that. So for this particular request, also there is a header. For example, if you see this particular request, the header has something, a content type as text forward slash HTML. Just giving you understanding that there is a header and a body for every request. Does it make sense? Yes, no. In the same way, if you go to your connect rest in this post, the request also has some header and a body. Going to methods, we're not going to use get, only post. Let me minimize everything else. Post. Post also has some header. Now let us see what sort of language are we using to communicate here? JSON. So the content type has to be JSON. The content type has to be JSON. I can specify that. It's a constant value. I will say application / JSON. Next, once you choose that, what else have they specified there? They've also told your API key can be found here, in the sense this particular application also uses or request uses a secret key or a code which has to be passed along with the request. That's what it means. Let us see how we can specify that. To do that, first I need to generate a key. Every account or every provider, whoever you're going to connect to, will be telling you we are going to use these keys. It's as good as telling you're going to go to your friend's place and he tells you, hey, the key is below the mat. Don't we say that? Or if there is a passcode, he tells you the passcode is 12345 or whatever it is. The same way, you're trying to communicate with these guys, right? With OpenAPI, we're trying to talk to OpenAPI to get the data, right? So OpenAPI tells you that, okay, if you want to talk to me, you need to have a secret key, which I am going to give you. Only if you come with that key, I'm going to open the door for you. In the sense, I'll be letting you consume data from me. Does it make sense? Yes? No? And that can be found somewhere. Once you register to them, you can find it under your, if you click on your profile, there is something called as view API keys. Using this, you can find that. For this example, I'm going to generate a new key. How can I do it? I'm showing you again. From your example, you can go there, or you can just go click on your profile, and also you can go there. Just click on your profile and click on view API keys. Here you will have a secret key. I'm not going to use this thing. I'll create a new key for this particular example. Create a secret key. Don't worry, I'll be deleting this once this class is over. So don't try to copy that. Okay, I copied that key. You can also generate your keys, no problem. And I have to pass this as an authorization attribute to this particular request. Let me pass that. To pass additional attributes as header, I have to just click on plus here. Session. It's a constant value. It's not on clipboard. I want to pass that as a constant value. And when you pass this, you should have bearer space in that. Very important. So whenever you pass authorization attribute, the token should have bearer space. It's just a standard which JWT has implemented. So that this token has to be passed with this prefix bearer space, because you are a bearer, you have this token. This is a bearer token, so you have to pass it this way. Perfect. So good so far. We implemented a connect rest. Also, what we did, we were able to add, or we were able to uh, add the header attributes. We specified the URL from where we will be consuming the data, and we are able to specify the header attributes, which is what type of content am I going to consume, which is application / JSON and a bearer token. Does it make sense? Yes? No? Good so far? Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now we have to build the body. What is the body? For now, let us pass this request as it is. Where is my request? Uh, uh, pa- 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 pa. I don't want to do their example. I want to add my own customization and get it. So I want to mark it as Nikhil and then the address as sir, perfect, and say edit for the period. Okay, I want to do this for this example. Let me delete this response. I don't want this response. Let me submit this guy. See Nikhil and his address. I want to get this code. Let me copy this code. Control C. Got this request. I'm using this request. I have the request. Perfect. So I want to pass this particular thing as a request. Let us say. Let's copy this. Control C. And let me go back to my. So to test it out, let us add that particular property. Let us say it is a constant and say so I've added the entire request as a key to this particular request. Perfect. So our connector is ready, looks ready at least, right? It looks ready. Can we run this from here? No, I don't think we can run this from. Okay. So all we have done here is created a REST connector, told this is the endpoint URL from where we want to get data. We told the method we want to access as part of this request is post, and in this post I'm sending you the content type which will be in the form of JSON, which is a JSON we have put in the message, and the authorization will be a bearer token. Does it make sense? Yes? No? Perfect. Let us see. API connector. Just want to make sure the spelling is right. Authorization. Perfect. Save. Done. So now that our REST service is ready, let us see how we can consume it. Let me check in this just to be sure. Web work in progress, and let me create one activity to call or to trigger this connect REST. I want to create an activity. Let me call it call sample API REST. You know how we create activities, so nothing fancy. Just creating a generic activity. What? Created another. Oh, my bad. I didn't want to create this thing. I wanted to create a activity which I'm not able to do from here. No problem. Records, technical, create activity. Call sample API REST. This is to just call the sample API REST which we have created. Open API, create and open. Let us say I want a page new page to hold the data hyphen new, and then I'll call it open API page. Perfect. Of course, you will have to add it to the pages and classes, right? Steps. Add another step. Here, what I want to do, I want to let us see if we have anything for connect rest. Yes, we do have something for connect rest. You can do connect rest from this particular this thing, and then I will say the service name. What is the service name? Sample open API REST connector. Yes or no? What is the method? First, modify that. Just two steps. Okay, saved it. I'll add one more step. This is to show what is coming as part of the response. Of course, we'll trace it. I'll do a show page. I want to see that page open if the data is getting populated. Open API page. Check out. Save. Nothing fancy. Creating a page, calling the connect rest, which we created just few seconds before, asking it to go and fetch this particular data. And if it is successful, then show it here. Let us see if that goes through. All it is doing is whatever the one click did here, submit, the same thing we are doing, but we are doing it through Pega. From Pega, you are communicating with this OpenAPI application using REST. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Let us see. Actions, run, trace, run. See, what does it tell? Status okay, response good is what it tells. Perfect, which is a good sign. Let us go and check what came in tracer. Stop. It created a new page, triggered connect rest. Let us see what happened in this connect rest. You're saying response is good, but we want to see if it was able to extract Nikhil's details. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Right now, we are not printing that anywhere. However, we know what are the attributes which we sent. Those are visible here. See, this is my request which we sent. Let us see if we can print that. So one mistake or one thing which we have missed here is, I'll show you that. If you go back to your connector, we did configure what should be done in the request, right? In the request, we told the content should be this thing, authorization should be this thing, this should be my request, right? This value should be my request. However, the response was not configured. What should happen for the response? What do you want to do with the response was not configured. Let's check out and map the response. In the sense, once that is received, what do you want to do? Do you want to put it on a clipboard page? Do you want to consume that as a JSON? What do you want to do? We didn't tell that. Let us tell that here. Map to, let us say, clipboard, or you can consume that as a JSON. Use fast processing if you want. And then there is a response object. Let's try to map it to that. Save. Perfect. Let's try to run this again and see if that makes any difference. Perfect. The response is 200. That's a good sign. Let us see what has come back as part of that response. It's just telling this thing. Okay, let us go back to the tracer. So we were successfully able to perform a connect rest with that particular API. How do we know? Of course, the response code. Whenever HTTP request goes successfully, the response code will be 200. That's how we know. See, completion, good. Choices. But what is the response we have received for this? ID model object. This is a successful response we have got from that particular application. Finish, resume, stop. State of message okay. Let us see what does the response object have. Let's go back to our notepad. I do have my response also captured. So the response object will have something like this. Okay, this text under choices, the text attribute will be giving us the details. Let us see if we have that. Under choices, we have to receive text which has not come. But the integration is happening successfully. We are able to successfully talk to that particular service with no issues. We just have to see why we are not getting that. Let us try to change the we need to create data. I do have a data model for that. I have already created that. I want to see if we can use clipboard and map it to that. It's clipboard. Okay. Response. Save. And now let me run it again. Let me close this tracer. Run. Trace. Okay. Some error. It's not able to store it on the clipboard is what it is telling, which is fine. So clipboard option is not available for us. Let's see if the service is up and running first again. So we are sure. Mhm. JSON. This looks good. Max tokens 256. Okay. Let's try to use that number. A little back and forth, that's fine. It's a new service we are trying to talk to. So I want to capture this choices. Of perfect. Why this? I'll tell you. Don't worry about that. JSON, perfect. Let's try to run this time and let us see. Wow. Pause this. Oh, my bad. So it has to come as a subscript of this guy, but I have wrongly specified it. It's like a page list property, so I'm trying to save it this way. I think we are very close to closure. Don't worry about that. Just give me one more minute and we should be good. Clear. Run. Remembering to map the property text with unsupported mode string. Let's try to keep it to the open API response object itself and let us see. Okay. Let's run this one last time. If not, we'll try to see how exactly we can run this again. Kind of new API, so a little hassle in running that. Show page. This is where I'm expecting that, but the response is not exactly same as what it is giving here, which is not ideal. If you see, it has to come as part of choices. Under choices, we should be getting something called as text like this. Choices followed by text, stuff like this. But somehow it is not returning that, which is fine. We'll try to understand what is the issue with that. Usage index 0. Uh-oh. Let me see the response object if that has necessary details. Go to the App Explorer, click on Open API, response, choices. We do have everything. Let's try to modify this to match the naming exactly. Delete rm and edit this so that it matches exactly the name. Finish reason. And we do have open this guy. Open the index. Delete this. We don't need this either. Not required. Right click, create, and I'll call this X. I'm making sure I'm mapping the JSON exactly how it is appearing there. Index, and then log props. Don't want this either. Not required. And create, edit. It's not that challenging. It's just that the first time implementation of this new service is like that. Don't worry about that. I'll simplify it for you. And there is this text which is also causing some challenges. Delete this. Okay. RM not required. And then create. Okay. Create and open. Perfect. Save. Perfect. We did some small slight change to this guy. Let us see if this has helped us in any way. If not, that's okay. I'll take that as my feedback and then I'll connect back tomorrow and explain you in detail how exactly we can do it. Uh, I saved this guy. Yes. Actions. Run. Trace. And run this guy. Okay. So it is telling 0 indexes are being returned, which is not ideal. Let us see. Let us see what does it have for choices. Stop. I don't think we are getting back the data which we want. This is coming on open API page. Response object, choices, alpha. See, this text is coming blank. So here we should be getting back the response, whatever we are expecting. Let us see if our request is valid first of all. Let me go back to my connect rest. JSON. Let me take my request here. Copied. Format word wrap. Okay. The request looks good. Let us let me try to give the same request as what we have here. So this guy. Perfect. Some issue with the request, I guess, but now we are able to extract the details. You see this? Make sense, guys? Yes? No? Yeah, even then it has to return. It shouldn't trouble me with these issues, but that's okay. You know, some issue with the request, nothing to do with, no issue with Pega as such, but I think there was some issue with this request. Let's try again and see if we can fetch it for our details, right? Um, I wanted it to happen for his ID. That's what we wanted. That's why I wanted to customize this request and see. Or, you know, uh, yeah. And then 57301. Then Nikhil. This should go through. Perfect. View the code. And go back to your sample API REST connector. So now whatever we have tested, that is working fine. You can verify that. You can go to your clipboard page, refresh this, and you will see that, see, the name and the address is extracted. Are we able to see that? Let us try to customize this request and also verify once, right? One small piece goes wrong and you never make it in front. Okay. Play. Let's try to run it. Okay. There's some issue with that request is what it looks like, but the other request is going fine. If you see right now, again, I see that this has failed. The older request was anyways working fine, which is not a problem. Okay. I know what's the issue. No, but I'm passing hard coding this and passing it. Let us try to change this also. Like, don't want to put all that garbage. I think the name is the problem. This, wow. Why is it just dear Kelly and okay, it's not able to read this. See, perfect. Okay, this one is working. Let's see if this works. Sorry, copy. Well, I think you get the point anyways, but just want to see if this could work. It would make more sense. Save, run. I think looks like some issue with the request, but with whenever we are passing that request, it's going through fine. Let's see on clipboard if we are able to see that. Open API request. With that normal request, we are able to see the details. The success of any request understanding is by seeing this code, py http response code. It has to be 200, which is what we are seeing right now, which means we are successfully able to integrate with that particular service. However, there is some details which we have to expect which are not coming. For example, choices, the text has to come. Somehow it is stopping. Could be some restriction from this particular free service. Could be some issue also. No worries. If I am passing the other request, it is going through fine, which is this guy Kelly and Maya. And let us say we'll just change this particular piece here. I'll say instead of Maya, I will say let us see if we just modify that in the request and send it across. If that goes through, see, we are able to get the details now. If you're modifying the same request and able to send it, we are able to get the details. Are we able to understand, guys, how exactly we can integrate using REST, connect REST, and get data from a third party application? Like slightly challenging because it did have a security aspect also to it. Like usually you would go for something which is much simpler, but this is a good understanding because no one is going to ask you how exactly you're going to connect to a REST service without, having authentication to it. We added the authentication flavor also where we are passing a security key. Yes or no? Right? And we are able to extract those details. See, in that request, we did have a user and the address for that particular user. It is able to extract that using a machine learning model. That's a machine learning model. That machine learning model will look at any junk characters and it will identify a name and an address and it will return you that. If you give it some junk text, it will extract name and address from that particular junk and it will return you. That's what it is doing here. Does it make sense, guys? We are using connect rest to do that. We performed a connect rest. We specified the URL which we are going to use. Pega automatically created these path parameters. All we modified was the request where we told the content type have to be JSON because the request we are sending is of type JSON. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Right? The authorization attribute also has to be passed in the sense this data which is in transit has to be secure. It should be a black box which is secure, which has a lock on it and a security key. That's what we are saying. We are giving it a token also, a security token. No one can understand it unless that is this application. Only the application which we are trying to connect to can understand it, which is this OpenAPI. Only they can understand because that is the lock which is shared between you and them. How is that? We got that by generating the API key here. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Right? So we utilized that and we established a connect trust connectivity between Pega and OpenAPI that gave us back the response when we passed. First, a handshake happens in the sense a SSL handshake telling that when the request first goes to OpenAPI, it will check if it is the right person who is contacting this application or this is a right app which is coming and trying to talk to OpenAPI. Yes. How does it know? It knows the application type, the content type is JSON, so it understands that. And there is a bearer token. Once it receives the token, it is like putting the security key in a door. Once the code is proper, you can go inside the door. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? That's what we are doing. We are having the key and we are presenting it. When the request goes from Pega, it is being presented. It is being presented to it is being presented to OpenAPI. OpenAPI successfully is able to understand this is a valid request. Why? Because it understands that key and the place it is coming from. This request is coming from. So it lets you go and execute the query on the model. You execute the query on the model. It executes the query on the model, returns back that response. That is how these two steps are happening. See, connect trust step status is good. If you open this, you will see that. See, HTTP response code is 200 for this, which means it was successful. The request was successfully returned. Does it make sense, guys? Yes? No? Uh, Can we say we have understood what is Connect Trust all about, how exactly Connect Trust integration goes through? Yes? No? The issue I think was with the initial two names I took, Nikhil and Vishwas, very unlucky for me in integration. Didn't go through. Whenever I put your name, they are denying that request. I think the issue is with your name. Okay, fine then. That was supposed to be a joke. Thank you. Okay, that is it for today. So I hope this was really helpful for you in terms of understanding. And let's catch up in next lecture. Thank you.